From the Figure 4 Online Studios in beautiful Bothell, Washington, exclusively at WrestlingObserver.com, you're listening to the Bryan and Vinny Show with your hosts, Bryan Alvarez and Big Vinny V.
All right, it's the Bryan and Vinny Show here. It is November 5, 2019, figure4online.com/wrestlingobserver.com. No Craig here today. Just me and Vinny reviewing Retro Raw and Nitro from 19 years ago this week. Very newsworthy shows. Kind of.
One was.
One had one newsworthy thing that
At the
happened.
very end.
The others, it's just a bunch of shows.
You were, in fact, a bunch of shows.
I'm over it. I'm over it.
We got 5 months to go? 6 months?
Yes. I heard that we had a stunning upset.
So let me tell you about how this went down.
Yes.
9 a.m. West Coast time, Sunday morning, noon Eastern, 1 hour before the Sunday games kick off. Paul Fontaine publicly tweets Filthy Tom Lawler and says, "You would have for sure lost your belt if you had taken..." Let me start this over. He tells me I would have lost my belt if Tom had taken the time to claim a kicker this week. Because Tom's kicker had a bye. And he is so bad at fantasy football that he never updated that. So with a reminder, with 1 hour to spare, Paul recommended he takes Dallas's kicker. So Paul takes Dallas's kicker. We fast forward to Monday night. I am ahead by like 4 points. And then Dallas's kicker, who is only on Tom's roster because Paul Fontaine stooged me off. 14 points with the kicker. Tom beats me 148 to 143.6.
Oh, very, very close.
So yes, due to a run-in, outside interference by Paul Fontaine,
You're going to blame somebody else, Vinny?
I was screwed.
Oh, really?
I was screwed by Paul Fontaine, and Tom Lawler is your new, undeserving champion.
Tom Lawler defeated you. After being ridiculed as the worst player in the league,
Yes.
aside from Rob,
Yes.
he beat you,
You did.
and you're coming up with all these cockamamie excuses.
And it's not because I had Jameis Winston on my bench and started Gardner Minshew. No! It is all because Paul Fontaine stuck his nose in where it didn't belong.
Wow. Well, sorry, dude. You have been dethroned.
I have. That's a fact.
Filthy Tom Lawler, your new fantasy football champion.
Yes.
Which I can't even believe it means you have a chance, Rob. How?
Well, weird shit happens in this league.
Look at how cocky he is right now, Vinny.
No,
Are you watching this?
Actually, I am not, and I will tell you why, because I have an equally upsetting story for my game this week.
Well, no one cares about this week, but you can tell us.
So
It's irrelevant.
So going into last night's game, I had a 17-point lead over Garrett, and he only had his defense to go. And defenses generally score on average about 10 points. So it was, fairly, I had a comfortable lead. I foolishly went on the board yesterday morning and said, this just feels like the type of game that the Cowboys defense is going to get a late pick six, which is an interception return for a touchdown, and I'm going to lose by 1/10 of a point. Well, as it turns out, they did get a late, I think it was like the last play of the game or near the
It was the last minute of the game.
Yeah. They got
in a game that was already long since decided.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. They scored a touchdown. I lost by 2 points because of this fucking fumble.
Wow. I've never heard so many excuses on one show in my lifetime.
Everything I've said is a fact.
Between you
If Paul
and Rob
had not ratted out Tom that he had forgotten to start a kicker, I would still be the champion right now. That's a fact.
He's true. Paul screwed Vinny.
Wow. Maybe Tom had some sort of elaborate plan to fool you into thinking that he wasn't going to start that kicker. but he was.
I see. So he would lull me into a false sense of security. And due to my overconfidence, I would start the wrong quarterback.
Yes,
well,
exactly.
If he's doing that kind of galaxy brain four-dimensional chess, then well played, Mr. Lawler.
Well, see, exactly.
Now, I will say this, by the way. Tom started 0-4. He lost 4 in a row. He's won 3 out of 5 since then.
See, look at that.
So
That's better than Rob.
He has turned things around.
Yeah. So when do you face Filthy?
So next, the new champion, Filthy Tom Lawler, plays Ryan Frederick's team, which is 6-3, so he's a strong challenger. Then he faces Bad Juju, owned by Cheryl Ingram, who has a record of 3-6, so presumably he should handle them. And then, in week 12 out of 13, it's Rob's last shot.
Oh, my God.
Presuming, of course, Tom can run the gauntlet to get
Tom
there.
has to win 2 more.
Yes.
Okay. So, against all odds, Tom has to survive until week 12, where, against all odds,
Yes.
Rob could win his belt back.
This has been an amazing league.
It's been incredible. This is the best book storyline all year. I dare anybody to prove me wrong.
Hopefully, Paul will stooge off Tom's next 2 opponents
Yes.
as well.
You better hope so, dude. You better be paying Paul Fontaine some cash. Wow. Well, there you go.
Yes.
Good luck, Rob.
Thank you, Brian.
It's all going to come crashing down next week. This storyline that we've been doing so well. I don't know if Tom can do this. I just don't think he can do it.
See, now you're questioning him.
I am questioning him. I'm well aware about what happened this week.
Yeah.
Somehow he's got to win 2 more and then lose to Rob for this to come full circle. I hope it happens because then in week 13 Rob loses. The very last week. Who do you face in the final week?
If I beat Tom for that belt, I'm quitting the league. At
Oh,
that point.
get out of here.
Can't get any better at
You
this.
coward. Who do you face in the last week?
I honestly have no idea.
Can you tell me?
I'm looking it up right this second. Bear with me. So, should he beat... Oh, look at this. Should he beat Tom Lawler in week 12, then he would close the regular season with a title defense against Antonio the Promise Thomas.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. This is incredible.
Yeah.
This is incredible. Are we sure this is not...
This is not rigged.
Okay. It's just too good. All right. Well, let's talk about some stuff that is rigged, and it sucks. Professional wrestling.
WWF Monday Night Raw, November 6th of the year 2000. So we have a SmackDown recap. And Rikishi is now saying not only did The Rock give him the keys and beg him to run over Steve Austin, but it was also The Rock who had hit Steve Austin with that wrench last week. Austin, gullible, believes this, stuns The Rock.
You know, I'm going to give a spoiler right now, okay? But we all know anyway because we've been talking about it for weeks. So, Hunter's the guy that set this up, okay? Why in the world is Rikishi... Are they in cahoots?
They must be.
Is that what it is?
Rikishi and Hunter?
He's trying to frame The Rock.
For some reason, it was very important over the past 2 weeks that they framed The Rock.
Okay. I guess maybe we'll find out why.
Now, it worked, again, because Austin is gullible, so he stuns The Rock, and then...
Less gullible and just untrustworthy, which he admits.
It's just...
He admits his character flaw.
Well, yes, but he's also... He says he doesn't trust anyone, which isn't quite true. He trusts some people even less than he trusts others.
I see.
But his choices of who to trust the least are faulty. So a crate nearly falls on Austin, and when this happens, Rock cannot be found. He cannot explain where he was when this happened. And in the big closing angle, Rock has Kurt Angle beat for the title until Rikishi just runs in for the DQ. They're both beating him up. Austin runs out, stuns them both, and then turns around and Rock bottoms him. Got all that?
Yeah, sure,
This
whatever.
is all played with very epic music. This sets up
The big question is, where's Rowan?
Eric Rowan?
Yeah.
It's the year 2000.
He's been attacking people in the back, Vinny. You know this.
Oh, I see.
Yes, it's a callback.
He's in high school in Minnesota somewhere, I guess. So yes, tonight it is Rock and Austin as a team versus Kurt Angle and Rikishi. So Vince McMahon comes out.
I was reading the wrong notes that whole time.
That's fair.
Let's go make some comments about Nash.
Vince prattles on about Election Day for 10 minutes.
Vince says, who will each and every one of you vote for tomorrow? There's a reason I'm going to recap this whole thing, okay?
Sure, yeah.
It's Monday Night Raw, And the show opens with Vince McMahon coming out. This is his first time back since leaving to become a genetic jackhammer. He's back. Vince comes out to cut the following promo. Who will each and every one of you vote for tomorrow on Election Day 2000? Everybody boos. 2001, I guess. No, it's 2000.
2000.
Some people probably say they don't give a damn. I can understand that. For years, you, the average American, the WWE fans, you've been ostracized. For a long time, you have been on the outside looking in. That's because the pundits say they don't care about you. Because they say you don't vote. And there is some truth in that statement. However, perhaps the biggest truth is you don't have a reason to vote. Tonight, I'm going to give you a reason to vote tomorrow. He then goes like so off on a tangent, I didn't even bother to recap it. He's talking about unions and corporations, and the fans are getting restless. And he says, your country needs you to vote tomorrow. Your common sense wisdom is needed to elect the next president. He says that to the audience in Raw. Your common sense wisdom is needed to elect the next president. What if you don't like either candidate, he says. Well, perhaps you must choose the lesser of two evils. Vote for the one, he says, that you think is lying the least. That's his speech. Now, I don't remember at any point in the show him giving me a good reason to go vote the next day. But he gets done, and Steve Austin comes out, and the whole point is, Steve Austin says, and I quote, Jesus Christ, Vince, it's Raw. I want to fight. So, he says he wants to fight The Rock. And then we move on.
He implies that perhaps Vince is the one who's behind this whole deal, having him run over and everything. Angle and Steph interrupt. There's more ranting about politics.
Kurt's ranting about George Bush.
Stephanie gets in Austin's face. He is threatening her when Angle attacks from behind, and Angle eats a stunner, and that's the end of all that.
Yeah. Angle jumps Steve Austin from behind. Steve Austin turns around and beats his ass.
Yes.
Yeah, because he's a babyface.
At least here it's a babyface. These are not well-booked champions on either show at this point. The Undertaker arrives at the building. Vince backstage says he has a strange feeling tonight. He insists something monumental, is going to occur. He insists that Stephanie leave with him. As they're getting in the limo, Angle says something about what a great moving speech Vince had delivered. And Vince was flattered by this flattery. It worked, essentially. He gets in the limo, they drive away, and Kurt Angle is all alone in the parking lot. And he says out loud, "You're right, Mr. McMahon. This is going to be a night like no other. Especially for Stephanie's husband, Triple H."
Yes.
And he walks away.
That was weird.
Because Kurt Angle is one of those guys who everything he thinks, he actually says.
Yeah, I've met people like that.
Yeah. Undertaker versus Val Venus. So the right to censor has been banned from ringside, and if they show up at ringside, then Mick Foley will strip them of their tag title match later on the show. Which begs the question, why are they banned from ringside for all matches?
Sometimes we need some action on the show.
They had a fun little TV match.
Dude, did they?
For a while. They went a little long.
Undertaker, first off, Undertaker wrestles so sparingly nowadays that to see him come out and wrestle on TV for 10 minutes against Val Venus blew my mind. They do this match. Everything is fine. He goes for the choke slam. Val avoids it, and then they go 5 more minutes.
This is fair. This happened.
Why did we need 5 more minutes? He should have just hit that stupid choke slam and won. Instead, he actually just beat him up for 5 more minutes.
Yes.
It wasn't even back and forth.
They just basically started over.
Then he hits the last ride. He wins. The place goes absolutely crazy. They cut to the announcers. JR says, and I quote, "I don't think it was as easy as people thought it would be, King." I thought, you're right. I thought it would be much easier for The Undertaker to beat Val Venus. I did not anticipate it would take him 6 straight minutes to beat this man.
So Taker afterwards opens his denim shirt to reveal the Yokozuna t-shirt he's wearing underneath. A tribute the announcers totally missed.
Yeah.
Hunter and Foley are backstage laughing at Kurt Angle for having a booger on TV at some point.
When he won the title.
Oh, how about that? So then Hunter declares, "Foley, I want a match with the Radicals. Am I watching the right show? Did I skip ahead several or skip backwards a year? The Radicals? So apparently the Radicals are a thing again. Foley agrees Hunter can find this match, but only if he can find 3 partners. Hunter shakes his head, says he might know some people. Austin arrives. He is pissed that he has to team with The Rock. And Foley says, I know The Rock didn't do it. I think maybe you guys...
Oh, Mr. Investigation here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did a great investigation to find out who ran over The Rock. Turns out he was wrong.
Well, he was... Well, no, Rikishi did it.
I guess he did actually do it. But.
Yeah. But he's gone from being the world's worst detective to now being the world's worst motivator, psychological coach. I don't know. But he says that because Rock and Austin hate each other, and because Austin thinks Rock set him up to be run over with a car, they should team, and this will make them be friends. And then Hunter turns to Austin and warns him, don't trust anybody.
Yes, he did.
Indeed. Here is a parking lot where The Rock has not shown up yet.
Got a replay of this coffee angle with Kane and Jericho.
He did. They made a backstage interview. Was it just me, or were these like the best on the show, throughout the show, the best questions and answers in backstage interviews we've ever had?
Yeah, I've been saying this for weeks. Coach is doing a good job.
So this is Michael Cole.
Yeah, Cole didn't ask anything stupid this week.
Cole says, Kane, you've yet to explain why you continue to attack Chris Jericho. Because it has all started with 1 cup of coffee, but it's been like a month now. Kane says he's upset people don't like him. They don't like what's under his mask. He gave them a chance, and they didn't cheer him. They liked Jericho instead because Chris Jericho's pretty. The world would not accept the freak, so I'm going to give the world the monster. And then Michael Cole asks, okay, why did you challenge Steve Blackman instead of Chris Jericho? And Kane says he has a plan. He's going to win the title.
It's actually a great plan.
Yeah, he's going to win the title from Steve Blackman. He's going to win the hardcore title. Then he's going to challenge Chris Jericho to a title defense. He's going to beat Jericho so ugly, he'll be the one who needs a mask, and it'll all be legal.
This is why Kane became the mayor.
I guess so.
He's
a man of vision.
Clever man of great foresight.
Foresight and planning.
Yes.
This is a leader. Hunter meets
What's that face for, Rob? What are you giving me that face for?
Well, couldn't he just ask for a hardcore match instead of going through all this rigmarole? Or
But if he has the hardcore title, then it would be a bait too great for Jericho to refuse.
yes,
Yes.
see.
A carrot to dangle. So Road Dogg says he is loyal to Hunter, but he doesn't know about him. They haven't talked to him since he's been back. And Jim Ross is absolutely bewildered at who in the hell they might be talking about. So after the break, we find out...
I knew immediately.
Anyone,
the former ass.
anyone with a brain knew it was ex-ass that they wanted to go talk to. So China is still hanging out with Mr. Not Ass. Hunter and Dog walk in. China and Not Ass jump up. They're ready to fight. Hunter calms them all down. Also a leader of men, apparently. We all make mistakes, he says. We got to put it all behind us. You want the radicals? We want the radicals. We don't got to be friends. And maybe it's just for one night. But we can all get together and we can kick ass DX style the way we used to. And China and Mr. Not Ass agree, and they all high five. TNA versus Too Cool.
This was where I started to get agitated with this show.
There was 9 million things that happened here.
Well,
in 2 minutes.
Trish takes the referee, Test Waffles Christopher with something. Doesn't even matter. He makes the cover, and Christopher kicks out.
Yeah.
And then the match just keeps going.
Yeah.
And Scotty hits the worm. Grandmaster comes off the top. Trish takes the ref a second time. Albert lays out Scotty, hits Grandmaster with the Albert bomb. Test makes the cover, gets the pin. Why did we need interference 2 times in one match?
In a 2-minute match.
So I was kind of annoyed because it's like, okay, you wanted to do a screw job finish, fine. But there's no need to have Trish interfere and then like fool us with the finish, but it's not the finish, and then just do it again a second later. Because when you interfere twice in a match, I mean, this ref is incompetent.
Yeah.
He's a total idiot. And it's like, I'm annoyed because I'm watching all this interference in a match that goes 2 minutes. Later, I don't even know what match it was. It was RTC versus the Hardys. RTC versus the Hardys. They have the ref vanish. Edge and Christian hit the ring. They're going to interfere, but Matt makes the save, and then the match just keeps going, and Edge and Christian are not involved in the finish. So there were 2 matches on this show where there was interference just for the sake of having interference.
Yes.
They tried to claim that Edge and Christian were responsible for the Hardys losing the titles to RTC. In no way were they responsible. They came out and they got their asses kicked, and RTC beat the Hardys. Later, down the road. Yeah. I don't need this much interference.
So, with all that, there were still 2 other things in this 2-minute match I want to talk about, both involving Test and Scotty. One cool, one really funny bad. Scotty's one move is he does the big face buster, and the place goes crazy because the worm is coming, and he does the worm, and they're all very happy. So he goes for the face buster, and everyone can tell it's going to be the face buster because of where they are, but instead, Test spins around and boots him right in the face with this really awesome big boot. That was a great spot. So now Scotty is laid out on his back on the mat, and Test goes up for the middle rope. And they're doing the spot where the guy jumping off the middle rope lands on his feet, and the guy on the mat gets his boot up and kicks him in the jaw, which is always stupid anyway, because what was the guy going to do coming off the ropes? Test jumps forward off the ropes. He is met with a boot to the jaw that he sells with a front flip.
Yeah. Hey,
This
objects in motion.
violated the laws of physics. Anyway, then all the other shit happened. So TNA wins. Then there's more. Crash Holly attacks, accompanied by, in her debut, Molly Holly.
You mean this young lady?
They do not have a name here. She is dressed like Crash, had the same markings on her gear, and had the same pose. She did the best, worst springboard dive ever onto Ivory. She goes for the springboard, and she trips and falls forward, and so she just, rather than fall on her face, she launches herself 800 miles an hour off the ropes on Ivory and just destroyed her. It looked great for something that looked so horrible. The Radicals go for a walk. DX goes for a walk. And then we get the Radicals versus DX, including their newest member, Billy G.
Can you imagine? Billy G? Billy G
Chad
is his name
uncle,
this week.
apparently, yes.
So,
And they said it 700 times to let
Yes.
you know he's Billy G.
it was like that was what was going to be his name.
What Power by Billy G.
And then they realized what a stupid name that is.
In what world is that a better name than Billy Gunn?
The one Billy Gunn. Hey, I told you he's not a cowboy anymore. So Mr. Ass was a more apropos name. Now I guess he's just Billy G. What's the G? Goat? Never thought of that, did you?
Gosh.
I mean, it's a gun, but anyway. I was more flabbergasted that Terry is now the manager of the Radicals. I guess she was with Saturn, but it just caught me off guard.
Yeah.
So Radicals and Terry come out together, facing DX. Chyna's wrestling the match, working with Eddie again. It's mildly better than last week, but not much better.
This is a stunningly bad match for the 8 people involved.
They beat on Road Dogg for an hour. The best part of this match, Billy G makes the hot tag, and the usual WWE 8-man breaks down into all 8 guys in the ring going crazy. Everybody is lost.
Yes.
Dean Malenko and Billy G. Billy G and Dean M are in the ring, and they start to do some sort of high spot. And I think that I presume Billy shot Malenko off. It'd be ridiculous to go the other way, but somebody gets shot off the ropes, they hit the ropes, they duck a clothesline, and then they both stop. Malenko ducks his clothesline and then just stops running. Billy misses the clothesline and then just stops, and both of them don't do anything. They just stop.
Now, I believe this is the exact same point while they were the legal men in the ring. Behind them, in the corner, were the illegal men, Saturn and Road Dogg, who were brawling. Hunter had not been tagged in yet. I guess he wanted to come in.
Well, he had to come in.
Well,
Time for the finish.
Before the finish, though, he goes after Saturn. Saturn turns and punches him, turns back and punches Road Dogg, turns back and punches Hunter. I'm watching Saturn beat up Road Dogg and Hunter by himself briefly.
Yeah.
Very briefly. So before the very obvious finish, I do want to point out that when they were recapping this angle from SmackDown, Ross explained that the Radicals reformed and they all beat up Hunter, and then, quote, before he saved himself with a steel chair.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Hunter never got tagged in because everyone was so completely fucked up. Finally, he said, fuck it, and he came in, he pedigreed Dean and pinned him.
I couldn't help but notice at the beginning of this match, they noted that your new WWF Light Heavyweight Champion is Dean Malenko.
Sure.
Pedigreed and pinned in the middle of the ring.
Humbled.
Yes.
So then...
Hunter is a champion of every division.
Yes! He beat up he has beaten up the champion many times.
He beat up Edge and Christian last week.
Yes.
Who were just recently tag team champions.
The top heel team.
He's beat up the light heavyweight champion, and he's beaten up the heavyweight champion multiple times.
Yes.
He destroyed the heavyweight champion last week.
That's right.
There literally was only one champion left for him to beat up, and it was Dean Malenko, and he did it on this show.
Is Steph still the women's champion?
Nah, she lost it to Lita.
Lita, yeah. That's going to be hard, more difficult to do then. But, so, in the post-match melee, Kurt Angle runs out and attacks Hunter. Now, you recall, he said, what did he say exactly? I should have looked this up beforehand. Something about how he had something in mind. So, this is going to be a night like no other, especially for Stephanie's husband, Triple H.
Yes.
He runs down, he hits Hunter like 4 times, and he runs away.
Yeah.
This is a night like all others for Triple H. That is his job, is to get hit 3 or 4 times.
Well, I mean, he didn't get pedigreed, so.
No, I suppose that's true. Rock arrives in his limo. Right to Censor versus the Hardys for the tag titles. Ivory and Lita are immediately ejected for brawling. So here, after promising they were a non-partisan organization, they only wanted to encourage people to go vote, Jerry Lawler spells it out plainly and clearly that he would never vote for Al Gore and, was it Joe Lieberman? Lieberman, whoever, yes? Rob Clifford, yes. Because as he points out, they could be card-carrying members of Right to Censor.
I remember all of this happening, but I was still totally taken off guard when in the middle of a match, Lawler just started cutting a promo on Al Gore.
Yes.
So he cuts his promo, and he just flat out says, I will not vote for Gore and Lieberman. The whole card-carrying blah, blah, blah. Jim Ross then says, well, we at WWE don't necessarily endorse the King's views. Not that I'm supporting these two gentlemen.
Subtle.
And then, after telling you who to vote for tomorrow, which, in fact, and I am not making this up, may actually have swung the election, as completely batshit crazy as that sounds.
As razor close as it was.
It was so close, and Raw had such a gigantic audience. Jerry Lawler's speech here with Jim Ross, honest to God, may have swung the election for George Bush. Jim Ross then says, just want to reiterate, we're nonpartisan here in WWE.
Yeah. So here is the part where Edge and Christian run out and they try to attack. They get beat up. A shit ton more stuff happens. And then Steven Richards hits Matt Hardy with a belt shot. And Bull Buchanan makes a cover. Bull is under the ropes. Matt is under the ropes. The referee is under the ropes.
Actually, outside.
They may as well have been on the floor.
He was on the floor.
Yeah. And they count 3, and that's the finish.
Yeah.
This sucked. And then, just to top off all the weirdness, Jim Ross talks about this match where one team lost their championships due to poor refereeing and compares it to Guyana, the Jim Jones tragedy, a mass suicide, deaths of hundreds of people.
I don't know what happened there.
What the hell was that?
I don't know. And Lawler says, that Vince McMahon gave such a great speech, he should run for office. I thought, you were close, dude.
Wrong McMahon.
You were close.
Same household. Angle looks for The Rock, finds The Rock, and destroys The Rock.
Yeah.
And he didn't jump up from behind and hit him with a weapon. But it was quite shocking to see The Rock laid out in such a brazen attack.
He achieved his mission.
Yeah. Edge and Christian celebrate because they screwed the Hardys of the tag titles. Now the Hardys are not champions, which means Edge and Christian can challenge for them again. So this is their point. They take credit for this win, even though their interference accomplished nothing. They celebrate by playing Chris Benoit's theme on the kazoo and making up words for it. Chris Benoit is here and he's really mad. Chris Benoit is here and he's really angry. Foley joins in, but of course, after trying to be or pretending to be their friend, he books them against the Dudley Boys in a table match. Kane versus Steve Blackman. My favorite part of this match is when Jim Ross is talking about what kind of a champion Kane would be with his lousy outlook on life. Damn millennials. So they do a match. A bunch of stuff happens. They hit each other with stuff. Kane picks up the chairs to wallop Blackman with them. Jericho runs
The
out.
steps.
What did I say?
The chairs.
Stairs.
Oh,
Steps.
Stairs.
Yeah.
I see.
Jericho hits the stairs with a chair, and Kane does the bit where he falls back with a V and the stairs over his head. And the stairs it is a hardcore match, but the stairs are sitting on Kane's face, and Blackman pins him. So Rock goes looking for Angle. He finds Austin instead. They bicker a bit, but they agree to see each other in the ring. You got Raven versus Jerry Lawler.
We had Raven versus Jerry the King Lawler with Taz doing commentary.
Yes.
This was the weirdest thing I ever saw.
It's up there.
Bell rings, Lawler's in his singlet, Raven's Raven, and bell rings and they lock up. They start exchanging holds.
The Memphis Brawler and the King of Barbed Wire City.
Like, what am I watching?
Chain
Then
wrestling.
Taz finally goes, I've seen enough. Runs in for the DQ. Al Snow makes a save with head. I'm like, are you kidding me? We're getting Jerry the King Lawler and Al Snow versus Raven and Taz
Yeah.
in WWE in the year 2000.
Yeah.
That won't go long.
We should point out in Vince's opening political rant, he basically said, Al Snow's vote counts as much as Rock's or Steve Austin's.
Yeah.
To point out, there's a great difference between these men on the totem pole in this company. Steven gives the right to censor a pep talk. Edge and Christian versus the Dudleys in a table match. So they're doing this table match, and Edge and Christian are going to do a double superplex on Bubba through a table to win. Except the Hardys come out to interfere, and their idea of saving Bubba is to move the table.
Well,
Now, I understand.
If he went through the table, it's over.
I understand they kept him in the match. He would have lost if they did this move.
Well, listen, okay? If he goes through the table, he loses, all right? So they got two options. Try to catch him or move the table.
I've seen they had time to run up and start punching Edge and Christian.
No. This is a big, heavy man about to get double superplexed off the top.
Yeah, if I'm ever going to get thrown through a table, just leave it there if you want.
I'm just going to move the table.
Just leave the table right where it is.
No, something was on the line here. I don't know what.
So Lita attacks Christian, and the Dudleys 3D him through a table. At this point, Jerry the King Lawler, Monday Night Raw color commentator, says, quote, "Can't anybody have a match without somebody else interfering?"
No.
And then Christian goes through a table too. Jeff put him through one as well. Jonathan Coachman's interviewing Rikishi. Rikishi, out of nowhere, is wearing one of those protective masks on his face. So Coachman asks, "Rikishi, what happened to your nose?" And Rikishi looks at him in as an intimidating a manner as possible, says, "Do you want to find out?" And Coachman doesn't skip a beat, simply says, "No, I'll ask another question."
He was great.
He was fantastic. So his question was about the tag match in the main event, and Rikishi says, "I keep telling you people, it's not going to be a tag match. Steve Austin will be alone. It will be a handicap match." Deborah is at WWF New York testing the food, including, of course, the Hush Puppies.
Get it?
Yeah. Cole's interviewing Angle, so he's on a mean streak tonight. So Angle, this is fantastic. Angle is tired of being dismissed. He's an Olympic gold medalist. He's the reigning WWF champion. He's nobody's whipping boy. And Hunter's taking him lightly. Rock is taking him lightly. Austin's taking him lightly. He's tired of all of it. He showed The Rock what he's capable of. He's going to show Steve Austin what he's capable of too. Austin's going to learn too. He starts to leave. This is the most badass moment of his whole WWF run up to this point. And he stops. He turns back and just says, "Children love me, damn it." Then he leaves.
My favorite part about this, Vinny, actually was nothing that you mentioned. Michael Cole says, this is Michael Cole's whole question, which was actually a statement. Can you imagine if your job is like to interview a WWE superstar, and so all you do is just issue a statement?
Yeah.
He says,
So Pamela Paulshock does Nitro.
"Kurt, you seem to be on a real mean streak tonight." Kurt then goes off on his whole speech, okay? So it's all Cole said. "You seem to be on a mean streak tonight." So Kurt starts ranting and raving, and he says, "I'm the most successful rookie. I'm going to take out everybody's Steve Austin. I cannot believe people call me a whipping boy." Anyway, the point is, he gets so upset at the end to have been called a whipping boy when he was the guy that called himself a whipping boy. Cole never said anything. You got to watch it.
I presume at some point...
I can't do justice to
Hunter
this.
or somebody must have called him that.
No, at the beginning of his speech, he just mentioned that people think I'm a whipping boy. And he goes on and on and on about all of his things. And he goes, a whipping boy.
I'm just saying on SmackDown or something, somebody must use those words.
He just was great.
Austin goes for a walk.
He got mad at himself, and he didn't even realize it.
He got mad at a straw man?
Yeah.
Yes.
He made up his own argument and got mad about it.
Austin is walking backstage, and then Rock is walking backstage when somebody pushes a big, heavy thing into him. It may have been. So Rock's laid out. This is actually set up brilliant because they had to create like in front of Rock to block it, so they could actually really, really push whatever the hell this was fast into him. So after the break, so we've established that Mick Foley is a terrible detective. He is a terrible coach. Now we find out he's also a terrible doctor. He is ordering the EMTs to do their job. First he's saying, "Get up, get him up." And then he tells him, back away, get off of him." And then Rox tries to stand, collapses. "Get him on a stretcher, get him on a stretcher." Foley can do one job, and it's wrestling. So officially the match is Kurt Angle and Rikishi versus Steve Austin and The Rock. But as the match begins, Rock's ambulance drives away. So you do this match. There's two guys beating up Austin. He makes comebacks once in a while. He's mostly selling. Rikishi goes into the ring in search of a weapon and pulls out, of all things, a sledgehammer.
A clue.
Foreshadowing, yes. Austin cuts him off. The sledgehammer's down in the ring. Austin's still fighting two guys by himself. Hunter's music hits. He comes out and attacks Kurt Angle. Lays waste, whips him, in fact. He is a whipping boy here. Sends him packing, and he picks up that sledgehammer. And when Austin turns around, Hunter lays him out with a sledgehammer. And Austin gigs, he's bleeding all over. Hunter lays him out with punches, orders Rikishi to do the big bonsai drop in the corner. They kill him for a long time. Hunter put on a big black glove at one point.
I don't know why.
Yeah, is he doing a claw hold now?
I don't know. Maybe there was a glove found at the scene of the crime.
So Hunter does a promo. He says, "Austin, your search is over. Now you know, you dumb son of a bitch."
As they're destroying Steve Austin, Ross has just lost his voice. He's screaming at the top of his lungs, the rattlesnake, blah, blah, blah. And he makes sure to add, right here in Texas. Because if you're in your hometown and or state, you must be beaten and humiliated on this show.
Well, the other key to this, not only were they in Texas, they were in Houston, Texas, which is the site of WrestleMania 6 months after the show.
That's right.
And they are pushing it over and over and over again. And, like, you've got to think they knew they were doing Rock and Austin for the Astrodome in Houston. But was Hunter so ambitious that maybe he thought by going over Austin in his home state, that he'd somehow sneak his way into that main event?
I'm pretty sure he probably did.
There you go.
So yeah, Triple H ordered the hit. The storyline is wrapped up. It was not, in fact, Rikishi. Whose ding was that?
Bridget making sure I got here okay.
I
because
see.
I have a text her. My bad.
Yes, there you go. That's the story. Rikishi was not... He was the driver, but he was not the setup man.
He was merely following orders.
Yeah, why? I don't know. It's weird.
Brian.
Your music. Distracted by my crying child.
Maybe we'll soothe her to sleep with the
she was
soothing tones of my voice screaming out these finishes.
Sleeping so good, and then things happen.
The finishes on this show were clean pin, pin after distraction and weapon shot and the worm and a top rope leg drop are not the finish. Pin by an illegal man in an 8-person tag match. Pin after interference and then more interference, and then a pin is counted where everyone involved is outside the ring. Pin after interference in a hardcore match. DQ due to interference. Win in a table match after interference by 3 people. And then no finish or DQ or something in a tag match or handicap match or something in the main event.
Yeah. There was a lot of interference on that show.
They've gotten to the point now where they're doing like a clean finish or two to open the show and lull you in a false sense of security.
Yeah.
And then here comes the nonstop parade of run-ins.
I mean, I watched the show when it was over, mostly because of the big reveal. I thought, that's a pretty good show. But man, I look back and I give it a thumbs in the middle, maybe. Too much interference.
It was very much a 2000 Raw.
I can't say it was a bad show.
Yeah. WCW Monday Nitro, also November 6th of the year 2000.
The nut is loose on Nitro, they explained.
That was that reference to Steiner, I believe?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the two pre-show things were clips from Thunder, where Sean Stasiak, Meat, vowed to prove Kevin Nash wrong by winning the WCW World Heavyweight title. Hey, maybe there's still time. I'm sure it's sitting on a shelf somewhere in a warehouse in Connecticut.
In fact, they're out of time.
Sting arrives at the building. In all his genres and every version of Sting, in every company, in every promotion, in every match, in every gimmick, in the ring, not one time ever has he looked as ridiculous as he did in his street clothes here. He was dressed as the Kool-Aid Man. Everything was bright red. Everything was 9 sizes too big. Steiner hit him, probably because he hated his clothes so much. And here's where they said...
And they immediately cut away.
And here's where they said the nut is loose. Somewhere in here, I believe Buff Bagwell saved Sting. So we cut from this to Kevin Nash and the Natural Born Thrillers. They're muttering to each other. I guess this week Mike Sanders was in charge, because they said something about how he can get the two of them booked a tag match or a 3-way. At this point, I was very unsure what the hell they were talking about. And their gimmick now is they do the he's SOL, and you know what that means, and they all laugh at it.
It's painful.
The most cringeworthy. It's supposed to be unfunny, but they are too successful at being unfunny.
I'll talk about this more in the next segment.
Lex Luger comes out for a promo.
Okay, so Lex Luger comes out.
We have reached the next segment.
He walks down to the ringside area and he says, Mark Madden, will you please stand up? Last week I heard you out here trying to be an expert on body fat in athletes. Now, a little bit of backstory. Luger always claimed he was 4% body fat, which, by the way, he never was. But he always claimed 4. Last week, he came back and he claimed 5. He said 5%. Madden noted he's gained some weight or something. He made some comment about how he'd gained a little bit of body fat. Because Luger had gone from 4 to 5 out of his own mouth. So, in real life, Luger was furious. This man called me fat. He's ranted about Madden backstage. This was unplanned. Madden did not know this was coming. Luger comes out and lectures him. He says, Madden, look at you. You are an endomorph. A gigantic glob of cellulite.
That is what he said.
I am Lex Luger, an example of mesomorphic magnificence. I am in the greatest shape of any athlete on earth. I want you to sit down and shut up about people's physiques. He walks to the ring. Man turns to everyone else and says, so much for the heels working together. Thanks for having my back. He moved on with the show.
And Hudson says, you're going to have to rewrite your scripted ad-libs. That was funny. So Luger now turns to Goldberg. Goldberg's streak was an insult to the legends of the past.
What?
I don't know.
I don't know what he's talking
No one else is allowed to win matches because Jack Briscoe did 20 years ago. Promises the streak will not happen again. He's going to end it at mayhem. Says Goldberg has been writing a book. And speaking of books and magazines, I've got a copy of WCW Magazine here. Produced in part by my friend Ross Foreman. Ross Foreman's a WCW guy. I believe he's still working for Impact. He calls Ross Foreman into the ring and says, Ross, you are the one who puts this magazine together. What do you think was the better article in this week's magazine? The Goldberg article or your interview with the Total Package Lex Luger? And Ross Foreman's confused. He looks at the magazine and says, Lex, we talked about Goldberg, but there's no interview with you in here. Which, of course, is Luger's point. The magazine's been ignoring him.
Maybe the announcers are like, you haven't been on TV in 6 months. Why would there be an article about you?
Lex says, you have pictures of geeks from the wrestling school or women who would take their clothes off for a box of protein bars. I don't know why. That made me laugh. So, of course, he puts Ross Foreman in the torture rack. Refs come out, plead with him to stop. Tony Schiavone was great here. This is a dangerous hold for athletes. Imagine what it can be for Ross Foreman.
Dude, it was super dangerous because they stretch him out and put an oxygen mask on him. What?
He racked him so hard he broke his lungs.
My God, that's terrible.
So Luger promises Goldberg is next to mayhem. This whole thing was not very good. It was way too long, but it had a point and led somewhere. So
kind of. All I could think of was like, this is arguing on Twitter in the year 2000.
It actually was.
Lex is out here mad that he's not in the damn magazine. He's going to beat up the guy who wrote the magazine. Yes. Like, come on. I deal with enough of this on a daily basis.
Goldberg arrives conveniently right after Lex finishes. Pam is interviewing Kevin Nash and the Thrillers.
Okay, so Nash is pretending to read Goldberg's book, and then he starts his promo. In the middle of his promo, he throws the book, and you hear the book go land on the ground. And he's doing his promo, and then he goes, pick that up. He goes back to his promo. He says, we lost a member of the Thrillers last week, but we're a strong group now. And he's just doing this promo, and it hit me like a ton of bricks all at once. Nash is out there, along with all of the natural-born Thrillers. There's Palumbo, Jindrak, Stasiak was part of them. Reno is there.
O'Hare and Sanders.
O'Hare, Sanders. I'm looking at every single one of them, and it's like, which one of these guys actually made it big in this business and became a superstar? The answer was none of them.
And Jindrak.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if you talk about going to Mexico,
he's the most successful.
He's the most successful, but like every single one of them, because of their size and look, you would look at them and like they all should have been superstars. But what did they do? They put them with Kevin Nash.
Ah, yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
Now, granted, he wasn't really their mentor. He might have mentored them to a degree or whatever, but it's a storyline. He's their mentor, okay? Mm-hmm. This dude goes out on TV every week and makes a total mockery of professional wrestling. They're new guys in this business, and whatever storyline, non-storyline, they're there learning from Kevin Nash. He's a star. And he's out there, and everything is a joke. Everything is comedy. Everything is who cares. Everything is unprofessional. And I was just like, no wonder nobody made it. You know what I'm saying?
I do. He's probably not the best role model you could have.
No, he was the worst possible role model in this company.
Well, on top of that, in the short term, trying to get these guys stars, and the best thing that Jindrak and O'Hare and Chuck Palumbo, they're all pretty muscular, but those three guys are very tall. But you know what? Kevin Nash is taller. So they put him with Nash, and they don't look so tall anymore all of a sudden. Now, are we sure he threw the book? Or does something just fall over randomly?
I think he threw the book. Or he gave the book to someone and they threw it. I don't know.
Maybe that's it, yeah.
But anyway.
So Stasiak shows up. He apologizes for walking out of them last week. Kevin Nash is not dumb. Tells him to hit the bricks. Stasiak says, I don't want to fight Reno tonight. Kevin Nash, I will be in your corner. Someone here we should point out, Nash challenged Booker for the title in this show. We get a Team Canada promo. They're also talking about the election, but at least it's just for heel heat. Whoever wins, you lose because you're all still Americans. Don't vote. immigrate. He asked for the Canadian anthem to be played. Kwee-wee comes out instead. Lance is appalled at Kwee-wee's gear. So we get Lance Storm versus Kwee-wee. Only thing of note is that Paisley for the first time mentions Angry Allen.
Yeah.
When Kwee-wee gets mad, he stops being an effeminate hairdresser and becomes Angry Allen. Wasn't angry enough here.
Can't believe this company went out of business with ideas like this.
It's amazing. Lance wins with the maple leaf.
All right, there's a lot to talk about before we even get to that. So Kwee-wee is now just dousing himself in glitter. Head to toe.
Yeah.
So within like a minute, Lance Storm is now covered head to toe in glitter.
He is.
The ring is covered in glitter. So basically throughout the night, everybody ends up getting covered in this glitter, okay? But at least you know, well, they're covered in glitter because Kwee-wee was covered in glitter earlier, right?
Sure.
Okay. Well, this was one of those nights where they taped Nitro, or they aired Nitro live, and then they taped Thunder.
Aha.
Okay? So, for Thunder, everyone comes out covered in glitter. Well, there's a man in WCW who did not want to work Thunder covered in glitter, and his name was Goldberg. And I believe this is the last time that Kwee-wee ever wears this level of glitter to the ring.
Very good. Very good.
Anyway, after the match, Paisley is screaming for Code Bad Hair Day.
Yes.
Out comes Ming. Ming clears the ring. I thought I was on drugs. I've been sick. I thought maybe I took too much Sudafed. I'm like, Ming, Kwee-wee, and Paisley are a trio?
Yes.
What?
There was like a dozen times in this Nitro when they talked about something I could not remember when it happened, and they said it was last week. I presume they mean last week on Thunder, but I seriously like 5 times checked to make sure I was watching the right show.
All I know is the very next segment, Gene's with Bill, and Bill's talking about Bam Bam Bigelow.
Yes.
And he goes, I have no idea why Bam Bam Bigelow's been sitting at home for the last 5 months. And when he said that, I just thought, you know who else has been sitting at home for like 5 months, it seems, is Ming. So apparently somebody was like, should do something with Ming. What should we do? Oh. Kwee-wee. Let's put him with Kwee-wee and Paisley. God damn, that's a great idea. Call him. Like, this is what they're coming up with.
Yes. They got all week to think about this, too.
Ming, Kwee-wee, and Paisley are a trio now.
Yeah.
A hairdresser who gets mad and becomes Angry Allen with this crazy guy, this savage.
With bigger hair and even bigger pants.
It's
Big
ridiculous.
hair and even bigger pants.
Preposterous.
Screwed up my own line. So about this here Goldberg interview, which, as you mentioned, involves Bam Bam Bigelow, who Goldberg says showed up last week and demanded a match with me. This is the point. I actually paused the show to check the date and make sure I was to have the right thing, because when Bigelow first showed up in WCW in like 98, that's what he did, is challenge, come out of nowhere, and demand a match with Goldberg. I thought he had the wrong show by years. But it didn't. I had the right show. And it really hit me later when Bam Bam came out for his match, but I realized it doesn't matter what show you're watching the network, what year, what promotion, what's going on. At some point, very soon, in that promotion, in that year, Bam Bam Bigelow will return or debut. We are watching 1988 NWA, where Bam Bam is new on the scene.
Yep.
We are watching 92 Superstars, where Bam Bam is making his return, but they're pretending it's a debut.
Yeah.
And now we're watching 2000 Nitro, where Bam Bam Bigelow is making his big return.
Yes.
I can't avoid him.
Yeah.
Goldberg at least did acknowledge here that they had many matches prior, he and Bam Bam, and he would beat him again. Says he's sick of Lex Luger's crap. And then Lex interrupts, but it's a distraction, so Bam Bam can attack Bill Goldberg from behind with a pipe. They lay him out, And this attack is so devastating that they walk off, and 5 seconds later, Goldberg stands up and yells at him.
A total low-rent WCW segment. That's what this was.
Sean Stasiak versus Reno. Falls count anywhere.
Yeah.
Sean Stasiak comes out. They play Reno's music. No Reno. Play it again. No Reno. They go backstage. Reno has been laid out, thrown through a table. And the Thrillers check on him.
Did they not show Chronic sauntering by?
I didn't see it.
Am I imagining things? I could have sworn I saw them walking by when they cut backstage.
I saw the Thrillers running down the hallway and finding Reno laid out through a table. They may have. I may have missed it.
I think they were walking and the Thrillers ran past them.
They may have. That's entirely possible. So then it's announced, of course. So Sean Stasiak wins via forfeit.
In a Falls Count Anywhere match.
In a Falls Count Anywhere match.
Why didn't he just run back there and pin him in the rubble?
For the hardcore title.
Yeah.
But they're sure to point out, of course, a title can only change hands via pinfall or submission.
Yes.
So you're telling me a forfeit is not a submission?
No. If I don't want to face you, I can just forfeit, and I'm still the champion.
So if you're a champion and you don't want to lose the title, just never show up.
Yes.
You'll lose by forfeit, but you'll keep the title.
Yes, that's their new rules.
That's fucking dumb.
This Sanders, he probably made that one up.
After the break, Reno has come to. He says, whoever laid him out, it was more than one guy.
Has to be.
There are 2 guys in Chronic. So
It's Chronic.
may have been Chronic.
I think it was Chronic.
Flair comes out for
Then
a promo.
Nash and the Thrillers do another stupid SOL comedy routine as their buddy is laying there in the rubble, dead.
Yeah.
Now, I got to start this Ric Flair thing here. You can finish. Flair comes down and he's going to run
I
down
wonder
this
what point you're going to make.
He's going to run down this pay-per-view, okay? And first off, he's trying to push this as one of the greatest pay-per-views of all time. And he still needs a piece of paper
As
to
he is
remember what
reading
matches are on this paper.
Exactly, yes.
So, I had to hear it, and you know this. Some guy on the board was so mad that I keep calling him a Erection. Because his name is Hugh G. Rection, not Erection. So mad. The sanctity of the name Hugh G. Rection. The temerity of me to make light of this. Well, Ric Flair comes out and he literally signs Lance Storm versus Huge Erection. That's what he said.
That's exactly what he said.
If you think I'm making that up, I'm not.
I'll read the date. Check the date again here.
That is
November
exact-
6th of the year 2000. Right about the midpoint of the show.
The best part is he doesn't laugh. He
No.
doesn't crack.
No. In
This
his
is a
mind,
matter of fact.
Lance Storm going face to face with a huge erection is money.
That's what he said.
So that's one match. He also announces Luger versus Goldberg, even though I thought it was official before. And finally, Booker T versus Scott Steiner in a steel cage match for the World Championship, where he says the winner will be the flagship of this company, along with Bill Goldberg and Sting and names of the past.
Yeah.
Now, about Scott Steiner. Steiner's conduct is unacceptable.
Yes.
He respects Steiner for, among other things, being a national amateur champion. Which I'm pretty sure he was not. Eventually, he lists all of Steiner's credentials, but says if you can't just manhandle everyone and attack people, eventually you're going to lose your job. So Steiner comes out, manhandles Flair, got him in the corner, threatening to do all sorts of terrible things. Booker saves, sends Steiner packing.
Okay. So, Flair doesn't want Steiner to be a crazy man. Steiner comes out and he's a crazy man. Okay. Flair's solution to this problem, okay, is that the cage match at Mayhem is still on. But now, in the cage, he is going to hang a straitjacket 12 feet over the ring. And the first man to procure the straitjacket can put it on their opponent and then beat them.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to solve this problem. That is your solution to Scott Steiner running in and beating people up.
He makes this booking and then immediately turns to Booker and says, I'm sorry, I've put you in a tough spot.
What?
Now, on top of all this, I don't know if this made it better or worse, but he did clarify it's still pinfall or submission to win. It's not first guy to get the jacket wins or first guy to put it on your opponent. You just can if you want to.
You ever tried to swaddle a baby that doesn't want to be swaddled?
Honestly, I have not.
Okay, well imagine trying to put Scott Steiner in a straitjacket.
Probably stronger than your baby.
Doesn't want to go in.
I don't think it'd be very easy.
This is the stupidest thing I've ever seen. Then Flair adds like, if you beat anyone up again, you're fired. I'm like, well, why didn't you just do that and not put a straitjacket in the cage?
I don't have an answer.
This is ridiculous.
Speaking of ridiculous, the following is a paid announcement by Jimmy Hart. So Jimmy repeats his claim about willing to wrestle any radio DJ in the ring on Nitro, calls out the biggest stars, Bubba the Love Sponge.
I can't believe I didn't accept in the year 2000. We were part of IATA.
That's true. I don't know how big internet radio in the year 2000 was compared to 2019. But he calls out the biggest names, Bubba the Love Sponge.
He didn't ask for listenership. He just asked for national DJ.
Calls out Howard Stern, and of course calls out Man Cow, who, for those of you who have forgotten, was in fact a radio star for 15 minutes. He's still doing radio somewhere, apparently. But of course, they're in Chicago, which is where Man Cow is based. He arrives. Jimmy changes his whole tune, sucks up to him. Man Cow intimidates him, starts to manhandle him. The remaining two members of 3 Count save. And that's that.
Yeah, so 3 Count broke up on Thunder. Shane and Shannon turned on Evan.
Didn't Evan blow out his ankle at one point?
Yeah, in that ladder match, and he kept wrestling. It was a while ago.
Yeah.
Their backs feel better now that they don't have to carry him anymore. Are they now 2 Count, or are they still 3 Count?
They call them 3 Count here.
That's
There's
weird.
only 2 of them. Now, on top of that, also, apparently, maybe on the same episode of Thunder, Jamie-san got kicked out of the Young Dragons. All right? So then, out of nowhere, totally at random, we have 3 Count versus the Young Dragons versus Mark Jindrak and Sean O'Hare for the tag team titles.
Man, you thought people were lost in that Raw match. Oh my God. Nobody knows where they're supposed to be. It was like they were in 3-dimensional space. Like everyone is just baffled. They're trying to get in a position. I guess they were in 3-dimensional space, but it was like they were floating.
I knew what you meant.
Yes. So there's just... no one knows where they're supposed to be. No one knows where they're supposed to get to. No one knows what they're doing. They're lost. Then we have a run-in in a 2-minute match. And finally, Plum and O'Hare win. I don't even know how, nor do I care. And they immediately note, those Battle Dome guys are doing something at ringside. Stop. Those Battle Dome guys?
Yeah, Brian.
Were they at ringside prior to this? Did they mention this ever?
No, not until now.
Okay, suddenly there's Battle Dome guys at ringside. They're all just being agitated, jumping around. There's more. Jamie-san now runs down.
Yeah.
Now he's Jamie Noble. He's a white guy with no mask. They just alert us it's Jamie-san. He starts running wild with chair shots, but he does not kill Evan, who also had run down. Apparently they're going to be a team. So we'll have 2 Count, 2 Dragons, and these 2 guys.
The Dragon Count.
The Dragon Count, whatever.
3 Young.
It was my program with Buddy Wayne all over again. We will
It
just
actually is.
we will team together against guys, then we'll break up and fight each other, and then we'll break up with the other partners and get back together again. So we're always with each other, no matter what.
Yes.
That's what this was.
The same humans are in the ring, just the alliances shift.
There was 1,000 things going on here.
This is all true. In 2 minutes. For the record, Sean O'Hare hit a springboard senton for the win.
Oh, whoop-de-doo.
Actually, it's worth pointing out, much like Raw, there was interference in this match. I guess it led to the finish, but it wasn't the guy who got interfered with who lost. But anyway, all of that happened. Smooth arrives with a limo. He refuses to open the door. There is something we missed. There is worth talking about. During that mayhem in the prior match, the announcers were teasing, in addition to bringing back, I've already forgotten who else Ric Flair brought back, he's going to bring back somebody with a good attitude. They kept saying this. So after commercial, out comes Diamond Dallas Page.
He's back.
He must have been the guy in the limo. He must be the guy with a good attitude.
His promo starts with him saying, they pulled me back in. I tried to get out, but they pulled me back in. What do I have to be negative about, he says. He convinces himself, and then he immediately tells his fan that he sucks, by the way. He convinces himself that he's got a job that he loves, that he gets paid for. I'm like, you're in WCW. You don't love this job. This job sucks.
In this same promo, I'm not sure if it was before or after he said that, but in this same promo, he talked about a match. First he says, I'm shooting with you. This is a shoot. I had a non-televised championship match with Booker T in Amarillo, Texas. And I was very negative, he says, probably due to all the crap happening in this company.
Yeah.
That's what he said. But he went out in Amarillo. He got a big pop. He had a moment of clarity, he says. He's going to come back, and he's just going to have fun. He explains in about 2 minutes, Ric Flair called him and brought him back. Took him forever to say this. Then Paige addresses the Battle Dome guys. Now, for those of you who don't remember, Battle Dome was basically an American Gladiators knockoff. So all these big jacked up dudes with wacky characters are there shouting at him. So Paige calls out Buff Bagwell, The Cat, and Rick Steiner. And everyone stops to cut promos on the Battle Dome guys.
Shat cuts his promo saying, if you guys come over this rail, I'll beat your asses. Bagwell says, DDP, do I have to say this or can you? You do it.
He used a homophobic slur that begins with the letter Q. Battle Dome Qs, he says.
He said this twice.
Loudly, clearly.
The announcers are appalled.
Yeah.
He's a babyface.
Yes, that's a good point. That's a good point. So that's not the point, but at some point, the Battle Dome guys do jump the rail. There's this big pull apart. The place is going nuts.
Some dude named T Money went after Rick Steiner.
Well, yes. That going after Rick Steiner, Brian, was a
Big
mistake.
mistake.
A big mistake. But T Money, who's just this big, bald black guy in a blue suit with sunglasses on, whatever, and then the sunglasses come off, that's Terry Crews. I had no idea he was in Battle Dome.
Now you know.
Terry Crews, Brian, in the year 2019, except for Ric Flair, is probably the most famous person on the show. And he
T
was
Money, baby.
T Money in Battle Dome. So there you go. We're getting a WCW
T
versus...
Dummy
Ha-ha!
went after Rick Steiner.
That was
Oh, man.
Thankfully, he was pulled back.
That ended poorly.
He had 2 decades to get more famous after this.
Then Buff dropped another
Q-bomb.
Q-bomb.
Yes.
I could not...
He was so proud of that line, he had to say it twice.
Think of all of the things that they edit off the network.
Yeah.
And that's on there.
So
Show
Pam...
over yet?
Pam accuses Stasiak of attacking Reno. He denies this. He denies the attack on Chuck Palumbo last week. He'll prove he's a man of his word and a thriller at heart. Jeff Jarrett and Scott Steiner versus Buff Bagwell and Sting had every tag match you ever saw. There was one great spot, which I'm sure I've seen somewhere before, but they got the heat on Sting. And he goes to the sunset flip, and Jarrett's fighting and windmilling like Fandango. And Buff hits the ring, punches Jarrett so he falls down and jumps right back out. That was awesome.
What was not awesome was Bagwell gets hot tag, hits a blockbuster on Steiner. He's going for the cover. Jeff Jarrett hits the ring, waffles him with that guitar. Mm-hmm. Every Jeff Jarrett match ever.
Yeah.
There's guitar shards all over the ring. Uh-huh. The announcers are like, how is the ref allowing this? The ref not only counts as the man is surrounded by pieces of broken guitar, he moves the pieces out of the way so that he can find a place to count.
Yes.
This show sucks. And actually, he didn't count because I guess Steiner put Buff in the recliner. So he moved the stuff out of the way so he could just sit there, I guess.
Kneel.
I don't know.
Lance joins the announce desk.
Covered in glitter.
He was. Repeats the claim that General Erection never pinned him for that U.S. title. Wants to know why Alex Wright is getting a shot at that title before him. Tony insists that Alex has won several matches lately. And Lance points out he had won 3 titles and was never beat for any of them. Which is true, because WCW sucks. So, for the U.S. title, Alex Wright versus Huge Erection. The gimmick is Alex is a promo in German, which Disco will translate. They do that for a while.
But of course, whatever Alex says, Disco says whatever he wants.
You can clearly tell it's not...
Alex buries the crowd. Disco says, he loves you people here.
Yes. So during this match, the only thing of note is when General Erection picks up this big German and press slams him. That was impressive.
I was just watching this, and Major Guns takes the referee, and Alex Wright goes up top. Huge Erection shoves him off. Major Guns still has the ref. She has a ref for like 5 minutes. Like, there's no reason.
Have you seen her?
There's no reason to have the referee. Like, he must just be waiting for the cue, and she just, like, forgot you to give him the cue. They're just chatting. Finally, the ref turns around. Hugh hits the moonsault for the pin. This show is ridiculous. And then, Hacksaw Jim Duggan is there for a promo. So, elections the next day. Hacksaw's a heel. But he's, at heart, a patriot. So, Hacksaw goes on TV and he says, I'm going to tell you all what's wrong with America. He's mocking America in the United States. He goes, my big complaint is that only 30% of you Americans go to the polls. He's basically doing this promo encouraging you to go vote and be a loyal American.
Scolding you
under the guise of burying America. It was actually fascinating and very clever.
For the sake of completeness, I will note that in that huge erection match, Disco Inferno tried to interfere, but everyone in MIA chased him up the ramp. This is during the 5 minutes that Major Guns had the ref. Pamela asks Booker T about Ric Flair's promo. Booker basically says he's going to face Kevin Nash tonight. Then he's going to face Scott Steiner at Mayhem. And he will die before he gives up this title.
Spoiler.
I'm happy to report that's not true.
That didn't happen. He's on WWE backstage right now, burying Seth Rollins.
Goldberg versus Bam Bam Bigelow, who, as I noted, is a part of every roster and every promotion of all time. Lex comes out to watch. When he does this, Goldberg is distracted. He walks over to the side of the ring facing the stage, and he points at Lex and says, your time's coming, Luger! And as he says this, Bam Bam comes up from behind and grabs him for a suplex, and Goldberg's eyes grow wide and he says, oh shit! And he gets suplexed back onto his head. I laughed. I laughed and I laughed and I laughed. So Goldberg hit the spear and the jackhammer and he won.
That was a tough jackhammer.
As a big man by a guy with big man, a jackhammer by a guy working on one leg. But he's Goldberg. And the place was absolutely crazy because for all that has gone wrong over the past 5 years almost in this company, Goldberg is unbreakable. And everyone loves him.
They've screwed him up in every conceivable way, and he's still the most over guy by 10.
But yes, it's just it's amazing. Steiner comes out, cuts a promo on Flair, says something about how Booker's mom didn't know who his dad was.
Actually, it was a really funny line, because Booker always says, save the drama for your mama. And Steiner says, the only drama is she doesn't know who the daddy is.
Got it. Yeah.
That was Scott Steiner was clever.
Oh, sure. He's a college-educated man.
Yeah.
Booker T versus Kevin Nash. Crowd is demanding Hall.
Is that what they were chanting?
We want Hall. Steiner says they're chanting, we want Pump.
It sounded like a CM Punk chant.
I'm pretty sure it was Scott Hall, because Nash acknowledged it, so that's what I guess.
Well, Nash got yelled at again to not bring up Hall's name.
Aha. So they do whatever. The ref gets bumped. Stasiak runs out, hits Booker with brass knucks. Stasiak, if you're gonna run in and hit somebody with brass knucks, like hold him up so the place can see how shiny they are when you have something in your hand.
Yeah, he hits the guy, and then they have to zoom in on his hand.
The camera's zipping around trying to follow his hand to see there's brass knuckles there. So Nash is happy. He goes to the power bomb, but as soon as he hooks him up, Stasiak hits him with the knucks, and thus we get another tainted victory for the worst champion ever, Booker T in WCW.
Yeah.
Stasiak, by the way, is standing in the ring as the ref counts 3.
This is their next big program.
Stasiak,
Kevin Nash and Sean Stasiak.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
No, honestly.
I can, because my final words here of this report, it's Nitro. There's nothing more that needs to be said in this review. Let's get these finishes. Get out of here.
The finishes on this show were, Brian, clean submission.
What? Flabbergasted.
Forfeit.
Must be the Lance match.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Forfeit in a title match that does not result in a title change. Pin after interference backfires. Submission after weapon shot. Clean pin.
Excuse me. Submission after weapon shot.
Yes. That's
Okay.
guitar
Yeah,
submission.
sure, that makes sense. Yeah.
And then pin after both men are hit with knucks and the interfering party is still standing in the ring.
Wow. Submission after weapon shot.
Yeah. Hit him with a weapon and it made him submit.
I'm going to knock you out with a guitar, but then put you in a hold.
That's what happened.
Okay.
That's exactly what happened.
It is
Brian.
what happened. It's just ridiculous.
Of course it is. It's Nitro.
Completely ridiculous.
You were the one who said it's Nitro.
I know, but that even caught me off guard when I heard that. All right. Well, we're done, everybody. So I'll be back tomorrow with Observer Live and Observer Radio. And then Thursday, Vinny and I